We should do that in a quick vocal warm-up.
Oh, hey, what a good idea. Come on, do that. Come on, everybody.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if I
So
do
you
that,
say,
pardon my boobs, because I don't...
breathe through your nose. Let it out with an S sound. Swell, bringing your arms down. Ooh, that's cool. Had everyone doing it at once. Ooh. Yeah. So that helps me get my energy. And it's afternoon. Like, this is tea time for me. I was saying, you know, I need tea and crumpets about now, and then that'll sort of help me wake up. But I was really energized by these guys, by Ari and Jamie. So great to listen to you. All right. And then, okay, so head voice. Ready? Woo! Woo! Put your hands right here and you'll feel the power. Ready? Woo! Yeah, now this part, this resonator. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Now, chest voice. Yo, ho, ho.
Yo, ho, ho.
Yo.
Yo, ho.
Yo, Adrian.
Yo, Adrian.
Yo.
Yo.
All right, we're getting all the kinks out now. That's
All
awesome.
of them to go.
Want to add anything that you do for voice work?
I don't. I do the old lip sync,
Lip
but
trill.
I'm afraid I'm going to get lip sync on my nose.
Right? Rather famous. Why do you suppose that even works? Why is it a thing? Anybody know?
Because
the
maybe
technical
they just think
things?
it's hilarious. I don't know. It like helps to loosen you up. Just
It does, and it does totally relaxes your vocal cords, because what happens is any tension that you're carrying or whatever, you can't have tension and go. So you're able to easily slide up and down your whole range doing that. It's kind of cool, right? And it also releases a little face tension, you know. With my voice students, sometimes I tell them, pretend you're a zombie and the flesh is just falling off. And some of them are really into that. You know, I can connect in with them that way. Anyways, are we mostly here?
I think so. We've announced in the vendor room, so if they miss it, then...
And so be it. Okay. We all sit down. Okay.
Hello.
And you are?
Louise.
Louise, shall we interview each other?
I wish.
And Louise and I met, of course, a long, long time ago. I always admired her elegance and her stature and her voice. And then I re-met her in 2012.
I thought you were going to say, and then I knew the real Louise.
And then I never got to know the real anybody. Did you?
No.
We would go in, we would do our job, and we would leave. We didn't get to socialize because Rainbow Bright or somebody was right after us. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we would be there, and just when we were like loosening up, end of the session, we'd want to visit. We were in the little, like, that waiting room area. In would come to cast for the next thing, which Wally Burr was also directing, which I thought was Rainbow Bright. I think so. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so we didn't really get to know one another, sadly. So, and they ran a tight ship in the recording studio. Wally Burr, and you've heard all these stories, so probably we should do like what Jamie and Ari did and just let you ask questions, because how many of you have been to like every one of these? Anybody?
Not everyone.
Oh,
No.
How many have there
Minus
been?
one.
-1, okay.
Minus 3.
Since 2005,
Minus-
but, like, this is my first.
Yours was my
Okay.
first one. When
Really?
you were there in St. Louis was my first one.
So you guys get to ask the questions that haven't yet been answered, or if you don't mind repeats, then go ahead and ask.
Don't mind me.
Those.
No, never mind.
So.
Can we rebound the questions if we don't know the answers? Because you buggers all know the answers, don't you?
Yes! You can ask us the questions.
Yeah, because you know
Like
so much more. You know so much more than we do. And Jamie was saying that too. I mean, you just know so much more than we do about the whole series, about that whole thing. Yes?
So I'm going to ask a question to
Okay.
Louise.
Good.
Christy Marks had talked about the character that you played, that she wanted to make sure she had somebody with an authentic accent. Can you talk a little bit about how you got the part, or did you have to audition?
I had to audition, and I knew the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Feeling a bit weak. No. I had to audition. I was with William Morris at the time.
Ooh.
Very, very posh agency. I don't know how I managed. Anyway, it was just before Christmas. Gosh, it feels like it was 2012 again. I remember telling this story in 2012. Yeah, it was just before Christmas, and I was not a voiceover actress. And this part came up, and I think Christy was having trouble with the Americans putting on the British accent. Couldn't quite get the R's right, and the not enough dirt in there. You know what I mean? So anyway, I went in and I thought, there's no way, there's that. There's no way. So I went home to England for Christmas. As soon as I landed, I got a call. You better get your ass back here because you're now a voiceover actress. And that was it. That was how. It's really hard to get into the circle, isn't it?
It is.
Voiceover. So
It is.
that was a really big lucky break for me. Really. Yes.
Okay, what do you remember about your audition? Do you remember what you had to read? Or?
Okay, I don't know if the agent fancied me at the time, but I remember it being very dark. It was like a brownout. You know those like it wasn't quite all the lights off. But I don't really understand why it was that dark because my actress sense should have been way up and lights and maybe baubles hanging from. I would have thought you would have changed the atmosphere a little bit. So I'm wondering about that.
It was dark. I wonder if we auditioned at the same place.
Did you?
Probably.
Oh, no, I was at William Morris. I was like the last.
But did you
minute.
audition at William
At
Morris?
William Morris.
Oh, no, not I.
No.
Some recording studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of us there, actually.
I just wonder what I would be like if I auditioned now. If I would just
I think you'd get the job again,
all
all
those,
over again.
all those years in between. I can't believe it, guys.
I know.
Can't believe it.
Neither can I. Yes.
I've got a question. Being the singing voice of Laura Holloway, or just being the singing voice of Jem, and obviously there were lots of other singing voices, and then you guys got to do the speaking roles. Like, what was it like for you to be in LA and reading these roles, and then you've got someone in New York singing? Like, did you ever get to hear the music? Did you ever get to hear it, like, when it all got put together before it
You
aired?
get to hear the music, did you?
No. But I remember this because I considered myself more a singer than a voiceover actor in those days. And then it sort of evolved and I just accepted, oh yeah, I'm a voiceover actor. But I remember, and you've all heard this story of how I went into the audition and I was told by my agent, I don't remember, I was with Creative Artists at that time. I was told by them, oh, it's for a girls rock band. And I'm like, oh, awesome, I'll get to sing. And so the assumption for me, and also I remember Samantha said the same thing. We thought we were going in for a singing/speaking audition. And so I was all ready to sing, and I went in there and was given all sorts of different, I think I even read with a British accent at some point. Because they just let me do they gave me several different characters to read for. And then they're like, oh, you did a great job. Okay, we'll be in touch with you. And I said, well, wait, you haven't heard me. Wait till you hear me sing. No. And they're like, oh, no, that's okay. I think they're going to be doing all that in New York. And I was both excited and sort of disappointed at the same time. So it was weird. But I do remember this. I remember one time being in the booth with the cast, and we had specific mics they would set us all up at. Remember, it was very regimented almost, more so than any other voiceover job I'd had. They'd put us in rows. We had a mic with a stand with our name kind of on it. We were assigned our spot. And I can remember looking ahead one day in the script, and there was a song like follow right near a piece of copy that I was reading. And I remember just kind of going off book for a second and venturing out and making up my own tune to this song. Like, I was recording the thing and it was, I went into whatever the song was, I don't remember. And, Wally was all business. So yeah, very cute. Okay, let's move on. Wow. So I suppose that's the closest I ever got to it, and didn't hear any of the music until really much later. So, yeah, I had a sense of what the music was like just based on the visuals. We did get to see visuals of our characters. They would show us storyboards, and yeah, I remember that.
lucky.
Whoa.
I think that was the most fun part, was when we were all sitting around the table and able to look at all of us creating the characters and how weird our faces were.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you don't just sit there all pretty.
No.
No.
No, because you're putting your whole body into it.
Yeah.
Your whole, it's, in fact, it becomes difficult to stay, you get off axis a lot from the mic
Right.
because you're really getting into the character. Not mine so much. She hardly had any groans and efforts or anything to do. But I remember watching Stormer at work and people like that and going, wow, yeah, go for it.
Were the mics like this, or were they?
I think they were regular classic
Stand-up.
stand-up
Oh,
mics or
yeah.
hanging, stand-up hanging, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you guys, Jetta was all black and white. Like her style, her look was very black and white, and yours was the rainbow. So
Yes.
it's good to have you guys together. But did you guys identify with your characters as far as their style, their look, or their like a scene or an episode that you really thought like that's me a little bit in Jetta or in dance?
You know what's funny is that, yeah, of course I always used to wear black and ripped jeans in those days, but when we did the Brit Rock episode and the whole pretense, and sort of, you guys know my story of growing up, with a famous dad. I did a lot of pretending that I was cool with it, so I really identified with that part of Jetta. I just did a lot of bullshit. Bullshit and charm is what gets you places. Yeah. Yeah, interesting, huh?
It is, and I had the opposite sense of who I was. I grew up in a family where I had a mother who had a lot of emotional challenges, and so I became the caregiver really for my mother, and my parents adopted 5 more kids, and so there were 7 of us. And I had a sense of what it was like to grow up in a situation where I was called upon to really always be kind and caring and benevolent to my family. And that was my response to my growing up. And so dance was very much who I could identify with. And not only that, without even really realizing it until now, during the 80s, if you opened up my closet, the main colors in there were pink and lavender. And I had a tremendous amount of pink. It was my signature color to wear. In the 80s, I had pink scarves, I had pink leggings, I had pink long, tunicky things and flash dancey things. Everything was pink. So yeah, oddly enough, and I think it was kind of astute of the casting directors in retrospect, that I think they really pegged us. They saw much more, they heard much more in our voices of who we really could naturally lend ourselves to in terms of which character, I think, than what I realized until now. So yeah.
That was a good question. I feel all emotional.
Yeah.
Not a therapy session.
The softness, and I probably yearn to be, I never gave myself permission to be Jetta-like in life, so, interesting.
Good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you start doing voice acting for Jem, you have a briefing for what were the character and what will they do, but did you see the image of them? Did you show the image of them or the dolls?
Yes.
Or, so to help you more get into character?
I actually didn't. I didn't see my character.
That's interesting, because I would see them on the storyboard, snippets. They would, sometimes in the middle of the table or somewhere, they would have...
Oh, at the readings.
At the readings.
Oh, I'm talking about the audition. No, I didn't
Oh,
know
at the
what she
audition, I didn't know what you... No,
When
at
you-
the
when you
audition, I
start,
didn't.
They brief you what are the character, what
Oh,
they are
yeah.
doing, what they are
Not at the
feeling.
audition at all.
But and over that, did you see the image of the character?
Only during the actual, once we got the jobs. I mean, I think there was
Yeah,
probably, we were given brief character descriptions. You were given a brief character description
was
of the
quite
one you were
pleased with
auditioning
mine,
for.
weren't you?
I was given all kinds of vague direction because I tried out for, I think, every single role. They basically had me read for every single one of them when I went in. And I remember walking away from that because I do recall that they gave me something where I was supposed to be very angry, and that's always been a challenge for me. And I remember walking away thinking, well, I'm not going to get any of those, you know. No misfits for me. I'd probably be a little bit better at it now.
Did you have to get angry in that? What was the episode where?
She breaks your leg.
Something was always falling on top of Dance, but
Yeah, what a klutz. She was such a klutz, graceful and would
but she
attack.
went to the hospital, right?
Yeah, had her leg up.
Yeah.
But you know, and I remember Wally working with me on that a little bit. I think I vaguely remember him telling me that I had to be harsher. Yeah, and that was tough. But I do kind of remember that now.
I'd like to know, did either of you at the time or in the many years since, did you ever acquire a dance doll or a Jetta doll? Or did you have any interest in that?
Oh, I did. I could never find any Jetta dolls. Well, they weren't available in England, so during my time when I went back to England, I couldn't find any. They weren't ever available, right? They didn't produce them in England. They did?
Not in England. Not in England.
No. I did store one. It was in a battered box, I'm sorry to say. It's horrible. It's battered. But no, I think I got one and dressed it up as Jetta and painted.
What? That's so cute.
She might have been Barbie, I'm not sure. She had a dodgy leg, I know that.
Well, someone gave me my dance doll, remember? And I'm trying to recall.
Omar. It was Omar.
Omar
He made the costume,
them.
didn't he make the
Yes, he did the
He
whole
made a
thing.
doll. He made dolls.
Was he here this
And
year?
mine has a boom box and a brush. And Lily has it in her room and has played with it. So it's probably not in the best condition anymore. No, it's in still very good condition. And thank you, Omar. Yeah, very special. I did not know there was a doll.
There's two. There's the integrity one. Have you seen the integrity
Oh,
one?
you're going to have to show
Oh
me.
my gosh. It is
No.
and it comes with a separate outfit.
I mean, I was so blown away when I got the call. It was probably TJ who first invited me. Was it you? Somebody, to the one in 2008. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Was it Sean? Wait.
Sean? No,
Sean?
this was 2008.
Is it, what's her name? Kat?
What?
Kat?
Yes.
Kat.
Yes, and I can share this with you now, but so I get the call and we're having this JemCon and what's that now?
I was there.
Yeah, and well, you may not realize it, but Gem and the Holograms, it has quite a following, and we gather each year, and I don't know how many years would have been going by then. Not that many, maybe 5, something.
2. Was it 2?
Just 3 years. And yeah, the next one's in LA, and we know you don't live far from there. I had just moved back up to San Francisco at that point. And so, they flew me down, and I feel like there was even a red carpet or something laid down, and you guys were like formed around, and I'm walking in, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's like paparazzi or something. And I remember someone shouted out, "Say your line!" And I froze, and I leaned over to Kat or whoever, and I said, "What's my line?" "Where do you see me dance?" And I went, "Where do you see me dance?" And everyone was like, "Ah!" So, like Jamie and Ari, what they were saying, and you missed it, but just the impact. We had no idea at all the reach. For us, it was a job. I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the residuals that would come in here and there. And I would hear little bits and pieces, but I was also, already on a track doing other things with my career and working for Garfield, working with Charlie Brown stuff and other shows. And I just, we had no concept. And so it really touched my heart when I realized the following. And in analyzing it, it's not about the glitter. That's just the smallest part of it. It's really about the emotional impact that it had, the way that people were able to connect in with it. And then, you know, in retrospect, I know that if I'd had more time at that time, I would have totally been, you know, riveted, because I understood what people were connecting in with. You know, the angst and the growing up and the permission to have feelings that, you know, you wouldn't talk about that much. And even sort of the glory in storming and raging and recognizing how to kind of reconcile those emotions that we all feel, you know, inside. And I just, very impressed. So thank you again. Thank you again. Yeah.
When TJ or whomever it was that invited you first time around brought to your attention that we all exist and that we are these little fans all these years later, what was your first thought?
Wow.
Who are these?
Outrageous. I want to be there. And when I walked into the exhibit hall, did you have this same feeling the first time?
Well, I totally crashed, so the feeling was like, ooh, and then, oh!
I mean, the color and the joy, and that these people are, and knockoffs. I mean, like, wow, that's really, that you can do it. And that there was just this whole culture around it. And, you know, I've been a doll collector, like, all my life. And I think some of you knew that about me. And yeah, I have a crazy collection of dolls, but I did
What
not
kind of
have.
dolls?
Pardon?
Yeah, what dolls do you collect?
Well, I'm not collecting so much now, but I did collect for. My mom was a huge doll collector, and then when she passed, I also have her hundreds of dolls. And then there was a year when I was working on music for, it was a Mattel thing, Monchichi. And yeah, I was asked to work on, I was working on music for Monchichi, and I'd written a rough script with a bunch of songs for Monchichi, and the then president of Mattel, who I better keep nameless because people are running video at this time, had a slight infatuation for me. Let's just say it that way. And when he learned that I collected dolls and that I had Barbies, one day on my doorstep was a box up to here with that year's issue of every Barbie doll. Wow. Ken, Barbie, all of them. And I still have them. They're all in mint condition in their boxes.
What year was that?
That would have been like 83 or 4 maybe.
So good.
I have those.
Wow.
And it's pretty crazy. Yeah, one day maybe if I'm ready to let them go, right? I'll do an experience. So in my previous marriage, I had them all around the house. In this one, they're relegated to one room. We call it the scary doll room. And when I have guests over to spend the night who I have a feeling will really find them repulsive, you know. Or we always joke around that if we have people that we don't really want to stay very long, we'll like show them, we'll just say, oh, and this will be your room. And they'll walk in and go, scary.
Nobody here though.
No, you guys would want to take up residence. I have the first issue, the Star Wars dolls, the first, all of them. I have a lot of Madame Alexander dolls.
Oh, those are cool.
And
Yeah,
toner?
and Barbies,
Toner dolls?
and I have others that were individual, you know, doll designers. His names are escaping. Sonia Hartman. I'm forgetting some of the names. And so yeah, I connected.
You
with this
need that
whole
dance
thing.
doll.
You
You
do.
do.
The
You would
integrity
love
one?
it. Yes. You would love it.
Especially if you're a doll collector.
Okay.
There's a Jetta doll
Oh
too.
my God, the
Question
Jetta
for
doll.
Louise, because
I love your
I'm
Jetta.
too much of a chatterbox, and you guys will be together around the piano tomorrow, yes? So I can chatter a lot more tomorrow, but I'm curious, so I'm going to conduct my own Louise interview right now. So Louise, answer with me. What I would love to know, because, you know, what have you been doing since Jem? What have you been doing? You were with William Morris. Were you modeling for them? Were you in movies, television? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay.
I did a little bit of each, and I moved around to a lot of different agencies because I guess I didn't date the agent, so I moved around. No, I'm just joking.
No, wait a minute. That's a slice of reality, sad reality
It
in the
is, isn't
80s.
it?
Mhm. Producers.
I was with your agency, and I was
with Liz Darling.
really.
What a great name, Liz.
Liz Darling,
Isn't it fantastic?
D-A-H.
Oh, even
Yeah.
better.
And I did a lot of commercials. I did a few really, really bad movies. You probably all have checked them out. I know you guys. I mean, this is
Bad movies are the best
this is like the green rotten tomato kind of movies where you get on the set and they say, okay, you must make the script up. We forgot this part. And then I went on tour with my dad for 7 years. I saw the world. He let me come on and do my own original stuff. Singing.
See, so another one.
Singing.
Singer. Yep.
And got a really great following from his fans and still do. And recently, I don't know if anyone is on my page, but did you see my daughter?
Yes.
She did with
She's all
9 years old and just came out the closet. No, I mean came out the cupboard as far as shyness. No, you know what I mean. She was so shy, and I could tell that she was an amazing singer at home. She wouldn't sing for anybody, and all of a sudden a puppy came into the fray of everything. Not the fray, but you know, it was a promise, and she'd been wanting a puppy forever. And we said, if you just sing in public once.
Whoa.
This girl, my partner and I, we wrote a song for my mum and dad, and my mum has Alzheimer's. I don't know if you all know this. So we wrote a love story of their life, and my daughter sang it with my dad on stage in Las Vegas 2 weekends ago. And now it's going to be part of a documentary. Oh, it's 9 years old. Yeah. So now I'm kind of just having my own little, you know, I see myself in her, but she just is bringing so much joy to my life. I love music, love writing. So hopefully it continues for a long time. Yeah. So that's some of the
Isn't
stuff.
mothering just the greatest thing in the world?
Oh, fantastic. We still sleep together.
Yeah, that's our family.
Yeah.
And I've got two 15-year-olds now. And, you know, we don't eat together. It's very funny. And I grew up in a household where, oh no, the family must sit down together for dinner. Anybody else kind of grow up with this concept that the family must, and that's what keeps the family stable. And it just hasn't worked out that way because, you know, I'd be going one direction for my work. My husband might be immersed. He's also a composer and a mathematician, and he's working on that. And then our daughter's a musical theater geek now and always going to rehearsals. And then our son could take or leave dinner. And so we do our own thing around it. Our daughter's fully vegan now too for a couple of years. She's an inspiration to me. And so I was so grateful when that pretense fell off because I realized I was feeling guilty for years about not, okay, I need to cook, I need to plan, I need to do all these things. And I always felt a sense of pressure around it. But we laugh a lot. We'll stand around the piano in the living room and improvise together. We get out the percussion instruments, we go crazy because both of my kids are very musical. And we plop on the bed, all four of us together, still with these two 15-year-olds, until finally one of us says, you better go to your own bed, guys. We're not really going to get a good night's sleep this way. And so it's sloppy and beautiful, and parenting's amazing, as many of you I'm sure know. Yeah.
I'm just curious for you, both of you guys, how did you know you wanted to be voice actors, or like what, I don't know, got you going in that direction?
It was the gig. Yeah, I mean, it was contagious. Once I got that gig, I really wish that I've had an opportunity to do more, but I wish I could do more, and I will. I think I will.
You will. What other voice acting have you done?
Oh, I've done a lot of, actually, a lot of people ask me to do their outgoing messages. Like some TV shows that I'm not allowed to name, but like, you know, if you call into the certain doctor's office, that would be me. But mainly singing rather than the voiceover acting. But.
Same here, and I think a lot of singers end up also doing voiceover work. You know, it's because when you get to know your instrument, it's just natural then to be able to use it for speech as well. And oftentimes, it's not as often the other way around, where you have a voiceover actor who strictly is a voiceover actor and never does any singing. It's actually kind of unusual, I think, that mix. So for me, it was through the music. So I was writing music for animation. I had already gotten some work doing that. I'd done a TV show for 2 years where I was an on-camera person on a TV show. Nothing you guys might remember, but it was early 80s. It was called the New You Asked For It show. Rich Little was the main host, and I was a co-host with Rich Little, and I got to travel all over the world. You know, I was just a young pup, hardly set foot outside of San Jose, and I got that job. And it was really out of the blue, because again, I was a singer-songwriter. I thought my trajectory was like Carole King, or I don't know, Barbra Streisand, or I don't know, do movies, cut an album, you know, that kind of thing. And it really didn't go that direction at all. But so in the context of doing that show, we would have to do, you know, talking heads sometimes. So I'd shoot some film for them, do something on camera, and then later on something, you know, yes, this pyramid at Cheops is just, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I would have to do that sort of narration kind of thing. And I always did characters from the time I was little. I was doing Betty Boop as a tiny tot. So then, out of that, and then got my first songwriting job for television when I was on location for that show. When they needed, there was a show called, you guys have heard this, so I don't want to go into great detail, but it was called No Man's Valley. It was about endangered animals, and I was on location in Australia in the outback, and an Aborigine came running down the road. This was pre-cell phones, or if they were there, they wouldn't have been at this location, let's put it that way. And he came running down, and he said, "Is there a Desiree here?" And I poked my head out of my tent. And he says, you know, there's a phone call for you up the road. And I go and I pick it up, and it's the producer of the show that I was on. You asked for it. Hey, you know, I'm working on a new animated show. My songwriting team are going through some relationship thing. I don't know if I can count on them. Would you be interested in writing music on spec for this? It was for CBS, I think. And it was called No Man's Valley. I think I already said that. This was not a big, successful show, but a wonderful breakthrough opportunity for me. So I said, absolutely, I'd love to do it. And so they FedExed the script to me in Alice Springs, which was where we were going the next day. I went into a honky-tonk bar that was closed, and I kind of tapped on the thing because I could see a piano in there, and I sat at the piano, cleared off the cobwebs, put my Sony Walkman recorder on top of the piano, and wrote 5 songs for the special, sent the disc to them, and the head of specials at CBS said, where did you find this person? We want her to write music, you know, for our shows. And so I segued from doing the on-camera thing for that show into writing music. So then when you're writing music for shows and you're demoing these things and you're singing the songs, quite frequently you'll get asked then, at least it happened with me that way, hey, you know, maybe she can also do the voiceover. And so then, you know, that's how I ended up being Nermal in the Garfield series. From, you know, doing, writing the music, yeah, Abu Dhabi, all those things, and a lot of fun. And Betty Boop, same thing. I was slated to be the music director for a Betty Boop special in '84, maybe it was. It was her first, you know, comeback, breakthrough television animated special. First new piece of animation for many, many years, and so I was there when they were, and you've all heard this story too, but they advertised it in Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, and people were lined up around the corner because at Gold Star, which was the recording studio of Cher, you guys, and the Ronettes or people like that. I mean, it was amazing, you know, Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, all that stuff. So, yeah, so I was playing the piano for the people who were auditioning for Betty Boop, and they would come over to me and they'd go, because, you know, cattle call, you want to see, you want to be seen. They didn't even know, a lot of these people didn't even know who Betty Boop was, which is amazing to me that they would even show up. I know. So they'd come there and they'd lean over and just, hey, you know, what does she sound like? And say, oh, well, you have the little Brooklyn. just kind of pucker up and squeak a little. And so after doing that a few times, the head of specials for CB, and whatever it was, he's like, he pushes the talk back button. So Des, when are you going to audition? Oh no, I'm not a voiceover person. I'm really not. You need to audition. So then I was Betty Boop then for that show and got to go on tour as Betty. I was on late night TV shows in New York, etc. as Betty, and it was quite a whirlwind year for me, and did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, was reunited with Rich Little because he was like doing W.C. Fields to my Betty Boop, and I had 8 really hot male dancers in white tuxedos and lifting me up and doing all that stuff. It was really fun. So,
I'd love
and
to see
then
some pictures from there.
Oh.
I wish you would do that. Bring us some pictures. That would be so fantastic.
you can find weird ones online that other people have posted, But yeah, so that was a very pivotal then time, because then at that point I suddenly went, oh yeah, I guess I'm a singer and a voiceover actor.
Did you get to do Betty for Roger Rabbit?
No, and that was an interesting thing. Yeah, I didn't. And in fact, I don't even know exactly what happened about that, but yeah. And I was like, oh, they're probably going to call me, and I never got the call. But Betty Boop is not a difficult voice to do. I really feel that many of us can do Betty Boop. So I was, I think it was the fact that I was working on the music and I was singing, and they knew I'd be able to sing as her, whatever, And they had first, of course, asked Mae Questel, who was the legendary voice of Betty Boop. But she was quite elderly at the time, and her demos came back not sounding quite where they needed them to be. Nowadays, they would just, handle it electronically. Yeah.
Do you want to hear my Rich Little story?
Yes.
So we used to have this house in Vegas, and all the entertainers would stay there when it was their run, and people would be there for like 6 weeks doing a run. So I think Cher stayed there. This is all like interconnected. All the big stars. Anyway, so Rich Little stayed there one year, and we rented it out, and it had orange chairs, orange shag carpeting, and all that. And we were the next ones back in with Dad entertaining, and every toilet had his headshot when you lifted it up, and he had cellophaned every toilet. How weird is that? No, it was lovely. So it's just.
And he was shy. This is why he was so shy. If he wasn't doing an impression, he was totally awkward.
Yep.
I speak of him in the past tense. That's not correct. But anyway,
I'm sure he would still put his headshot on toilet. That was hysterical. I love that. I love the shag carpet too. I really did. Do you guys like shag carpeting still?
I had shag carpeting once.
Yeah? Yeah.
A long time ago.
Question in the back.
There's Gem Comics.
Well, in the bag, right? Do we have some in the bag? No?
Yes. Yeah, oh, wait, no. You guys have picked some. You want me to get some?
And the things that Keith is doing, right? Yes? Beautiful.
Controversy about Jetta's character in the comics, because in the series she was white, and in the comics now she's black, and there was actually some discussion about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
She
had a British accent in the movie, right? No.
That's fine.
Oh, well, no, she had no accent in the movie. Did she have an accent?
Yeah, I think she did.
She was,
a lesbian Latina in the movie.
Yeah, she'll have that line.
yeah. So now I'm going to have to peruse, and y'all are going to have to, y'all. Oh my gosh, did I just say that? Nashville, y'all. Have to fill me in on the controversy. Yeah.
Louise, I dated a British guy for 7 years.
Oh.
I know. And introduced him to Jem, and he really got a kick out of Jetta specifically because she sounded so common as muck, as he would say.
Common as muck, yeah. Common as muck, duck.
Exactly. You sound very posh. So how did you get into the Jetta mindset to make your voice be common? And some of those crazy lines that you had, like Ducky and your brain pan yank, you had to say all these slick things, and so.
Well, even though Jetta wasn't Cockney, in high school I had done Oliver, and I had played the lead role in Oliver. Nancy, as long as... We'll sing that around the piano tomorrow. Really? Oh, how cool is that? Oh. Yeah, so I sang As Long as He Needs Me in high school, and I croaked on one of the high notes, and I just got mortified, and I ran off stage, and they said, "Oh my God, she's brilliant. She's so emotional." And then Fagin on one scene, he had this huge fork on stage, and it went flying across the stage, and then he started his lines with the last line of the whole scene, and we had to make the whole thing up, and I thought, oh, this is good training ground. Do you like improv?
I do, but
Yeah.
I'm not that, I don't feel, well.
It's been a while for me, but
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's how the voice came about. I got stroppy in that, and I just kept a little bit of that with me. So.
That's awesome.
Yes.
If you're doing different voice jobs and you have characters that are wildly different, how do you remember what the last character sounded like? Like, how do you get into that character? Do you look at a picture? Do you have a playback and kind of go back and get into that character? How does that work?
It's both. Oftentimes, most of the time, they'll have a reference track for you, so you can remember where you were. There was a time in my career, not so much for the TV shows. I mean, Nermal was an easy place to go to for me. And Betty Boop is actually like Nermal with Brooklyn and more squeaks. I mean, And I got a little reputation. I got called to do something for Animaniacs and for Tiny Toon Adventures or one of those. All of those are similar to Betty Boop, basically. It's like, oh, she's the one, yeah, she does that thing. And so I would get those calls. But when I started doing a lot of work for toys, when the chip technology got sophisticated enough, and we talked about Tickle Me Elmo earlier, and I was doing prototypes then for a lot of those kinds of toys. And they would always, yes, you'd do something, you'd experiment with it, and then when you'd go back into the studio, you could either ask or they would say, oh, here's a reference, to help you remember. Because I was doing Barbie at the time, I was doing Dora the Explorer at the time, and I was doing only for toys, you guys. This wasn't for the shows, right? And I don't even know how they got away with it, honestly, but I think it was location. I was in Silicon Valley at that time, and so that was where all those things were happening, and they understood how to record what was called concatenation in toys, where you're recording a sentence and leaving leeway for things to plug in, like, you have 3 red rainbows, or whatever you'd say, 3 red earrings, and so, you would learn, you'd talk like a robot. You'd go home from a job like that, 3-4 hours of that, you'd go home, hello, what would you like for dinner tonight?
Hi, I'm Sybil Sadie. Want to come play with me?
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, for Barbie, it was always, hi, it's Barbie. And you chose totally cool nails. It was like really silly stuff over the top. But, so, yeah. Good job to me.
Imitated on Saturday Night Live. They do your Barbie on SNL when they do Barbie, right? They imitate you on SNL.
That's scary. Hadn't thought about that.
That's the highest compliment. You've made it when SNL is doing it.
I'm telling you. And then the really dangerous thing is when you're doing toys for little kids who are learning how to read. And so I was doing a lot of work for Leapfrog toys. And, it would be A is for apple. And you'd hear little kids going, A. A says A and A. Like, okay, that's weird. So, yeah, we get a reference, we get a chance to listen and regroup. And during the course of the session, they would say, if you had a keen engineer, they would go, oh, wait, that feels like it's getting a little off the ref, and then you'd refresh it and go back and do it again. Yeah. So.
That is
Crazy
really
world.
awesome. I love it.
Crazy.
So good.
What a world, what a world. Yes.
I want to know from Louise, could you tell us anything about on-camera work you may have done?
You're trying to get around it, aren't you? With this terrible movie.
I want to know all about them. I mean, we're very curious.
I did Murder, She Wrote.
Yes.
Oh!
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I can't remember. It just came on the other day. I was watching, and I can't believe it's me, and I can't believe I actually got to work with Angela Lansbury and be actually in the scenes and have her tell me to be quiet because I was being too loud. My darling, it's not your scene. You have to just pretend. So, yeah, no, it's lovely. I've done a lot of stuff here and there, but I did a lot of crazy videos. And I should give you all a list because you would just get a kick out of those legs back then. My legs. I did. No, I just love doing music videos. So you met the craziest people, and we would work 3 nights in a row all night. Yeah, well, I pretended to dance. Yeah, I wasn't very good. Oh, you found some.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, isn't it gorgeous?
Beautiful.
With the
Oh,
pink
yeah, and my legs
hair.
are just like that.
That's an awesome one.
Her face, yeah, Jenna's doing a really good job.
Wow.
Oh, they're beautiful.
They are. We'll have to have our pictures taken with them later. She's broken it already. You stupid cow.
You know, Jetta, you can catch a few more flies with honey. You might just try that sometime, Jetta. Oh, by the way, I really like your jacket.
Shut up. I think I'm going to have to wear this makeup for my mask tonight. Yes, I only have a little itty bitty mask. Anybody want to do it for me? I'm so grateful.
Do it.
Who does makeup in here?
Makeup.
Really?
Yes.
You do my makeup for me tonight?
It's amazing.
Yeah, can I tell you what happened to my makeup tonight?
Please tell.
Today.
Oh, God.
So I get up, after coming here for 2 days, the last 2 days I've been coming here, and I finally get here today. I get up and the dog, the new puppy, has locked itself in the bathroom. The handles have come off and I hear chewing. So finally we break into the door, and not only has she chewed all my makeup off, but she's also chewed the very important part of a lady's trousers that I had ready for my shower, ready to get in. So yeah, last minute Louise strikes again.
That'd be quite an outfit, though.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Might have been the perfect thing.
Yes. Oh, that's a t-shirt, I think. Yeah, so. Really? You want to do my makeup?
Well, I was
So good.
wondering,
That'd be great.
like when you guys were here the last time, both of your kids were, your daughter was really small. I remember
Yes.
her playing with a doll. And,
Oh, yeah.
But now that they're a little bit older, I'm sure they've watched the cartoon. Do they have any opinions on your characters or?
Oh, that's interesting. She was doing homework for me last night, and she says, "You better give me credit for this," because we were reviewing. It's been a long time, and so she did watch a lot of the episodes, and she just thinks I'm cool, and I just love it. She was so blown away in 2012 when everybody just was like, because I'm sorry, that was really loud. Sorry. Let me put myself away.
You're a misfit. You're allowed to be loud.
Well, same thing. And many of you met my daughter Lily last time. And she's really upset that she can't be here. She's 15 and beautiful and much taller than I.
Wow.
And quite glamorous now, I think. Loves musical theater. And early on had watched a whole bunch of episodes along with me for the last one. And just, yes, thinks it's pretty cool. She'll tell her friends, "Oh, you might not know this series, but, my mom was blah, 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 blah." Yes, And so I think her friends probably think it's kind of cool too. And some of you mentioned that you'd seen her tribute to me on my birthday, and she's just, we love our kids, And she's got her up days and her down days, and I just love watching the roller coaster ride. That's great. Yeah, and she has a twin brother, Ben, who also thinks I'm pretty cool, which is shocking for a son to think that, And I have yet to really get a genuine hug from him. I'll hug him all the time, and he'll go, "Oh, Mom, gross," The other day he was walking down the hall. Oh, he'll kill me for telling this story. This does not go anywhere. It just does. He's walking down the hall and he's got this cute little bubble butt, you know. So I just kind of said, "Hey, baby," and gave him a little smack. He says, "Okay, now see there. Now only a mom can do that. If a mom does that to her son, it's fine. If a dad does that to his daughter, look out." And I thought that was an interesting observation, you know. And I'm like, he's 15. Yeah, you know, it's funny, but it's just that little impulsive mommy thing. Oh, he's so cute. Whack. You know, I think we all fall in love with our kids, you know. It's just such a... It's so rewarding when people ask me, you know, well, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And you know, mostly I've done what I've wanted to do and it's been fabulous. And certainly I maybe didn't end up doing, Ari and I were having this conversation this morning at breakfast. You know, one of the most wonderful things about life, I think, if we're open to it, you have a loose plan in mind. Make it loose. You know, make it on the plane of qualities that you want expressed. Make it on that. You know, I can be very specific about the qualities I've always wanted in my life. I know I've always wanted to feel a sense of an ability to love no matter what. I've always felt that it was deeply important to keep close to my family as much as possible. I've always felt that friendships were super important. I haven't always been the best friend because I'm very busy a lot of times, and I wish that I weren't as busy because I have many friends that I'd love to spend more time with because I think that's super, super important. And so, you know, keeping it at that quality level, then you're open to whatever comes to you, you know, then you don't have to feel a sense of disappointment if it's not exactly this thing that you had pictured, you know, because sometimes we can beat our head against a wall thinking it's this way, this way, this way. And then, you know, that's just can be a very frustrating way, I think, to go through life. And instead, something you go, oh, it's this. Oh, well, this is cool. Oh, and today it's this. All right. You know, and to have that sense of openness around it and, you know, my little pearl of dance wisdom and perspective. Yes.
I know with previous JemCons, a lot of the special guests have said that they had first met fellow people who worked on the show at JemCon. Like a lot of the singers never even met the voice actors, and like Christy Marks never even met a lot of the voice actors, even though she wrote for the show, which is just crazy to think about. But do you have any like stories like that of people who you met at the previous JemCon that also worked on the show that you just had never met previously? Any fun stories about that?
Well, I had to move to Nashville to actually hang out with two of the other actresses. Yeah, isn't that crazy that three of us ended up in Nashville? Yeah.
Well, and and right now I'm drawing a blank. Her name will come to me in a moment. She is now Samantha Paris, but her name then was Bobby Block. Thank you. And so Bobby and I, our paths crossed a number of times. We were both involved in a couple of different things at the same time. And then when I moved back up to Northern California, lo and behold, here's this voiceover acting school that I got asked to do some audition at one day, and I walk in and there's Bobby, and I go, hey Bobby, she goes, well, it's Samantha now. You know, so that, I would say, that's the only other voice actor with whose path I actually was able to cross at another time in life, other than coming here. And Christy Marks, never got to meet her.
Wow.
Never really, they were totally separate. You know, the music house, they were the music house, and we were the voiceover house, and that's a voiceover and animation house, and that's what we knew. I don't think so.
Oh my God.
I don't think I've met her. I don't think she's been here the years that I have. Right? So.
The Shonda.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Thank you all for waiting
Thank
on
you,
me,
thank
and
you.
thank you guys so much for switching things around. I appreciate it.